Do you find truth from an authority or somebody you trust? What's the difference? I've always been an independent person. As a baby, I would cry when I was held because I wanted to be able to move without somebody else's help. As I got older and was able to do more things for myself, I got happier and happier. I've always hated feeling dependent on other people, partially because I hate asking for things, almost as much as I hate pity. I don't like to work in groups for projects because I always feel the need to supervise anything that anybody else does, even if I do trust them. And oftentimes I don't because I don't trust people easily, which honestly is sad. I can think of 3 students at Acton that I would almost completely trust. 3. That's not everybody else's fault though. It doesn't mean that they aren't my friends, because they are. I frankly don't even know what my brain looks for in people before I can trust them. But back to the question. Would you, or me, or anybody else be more or less likely to accept a truth from somebody you trust or an authority? First, let's talk about what each looks like. Somebody you trust is a fellow traveler, mentor, or mentee who you would trust with anything. Your secrets, your faults, your feelings, your passions, your worries. You trust them to be there for you, listen and advise, and in return, you do the same for them. You have their back, and they have your back, and you have theirs. You don't require payback for these kinds of things. It's an unsaid agreement. Authorities are often the ones in power, the people that can say, do this, or else that's going to happen. They are the people that can make rules and enforce them. They are the reason that the world works, yet they are also the reason that the world collapses. Oftentimes, when we are in authority, we can turn into a dictator, at least for a period of time. Maybe not intentionally, but we are all guilty to at least some degree. I myself, too, am guilty of turning into somewhat of a dictator. Last year, the minuscule world of Acton collapsed, albeit only for a short while. The guides only assembled the High Standards Committee a short while before they decided to leave the studio and let us fix the problem. I was chosen to be part of this committee. It was our job to create new contracts that will guide our community back to intentionality. Barely a day or two after the assembly of the committee, we were spending upwards of 5 hours per day in meetings. I will tell you now that 7 people working on one document all at once is not very efficient. We soon introduced an honor code versus Eaglebuck contract, as well as an honor code violation process and a few other processes. We did not stop here. Now we were taking charge of who in the last few weeks had committed an honor code violation large enough to still be viable a few weeks after the fact. We went down the list of people in the class and discussed them one by one. Some we immediately dismissed, but others were spoken of for many minutes. We came up with a list of people who had committed honor code violations. We announced to the class that we had a list. We were not going to share it just yet. The violators had to, without being prompted, confess publicly to the class what they had done, specifically stating what they had done and how they were going to do better in the future. Many people stood up and spoke to the class, apologizing. Most had done nothing significant. We waited. The deadline was nearing, and yet only a few violators had spoken up. The deadline passed. Time to confront people was nearing. The time had come. Nobody wanted to do the dreaded task of telling the violator what he had done. It was over, we had told him. He was angry. This is unfair, and I didn't do it, pour from their mouth. We apologize. I'm really sorry. We can't make exceptions. We were soon openly disliked by a few members of the class. We were the evil dictators. We were protected by our knowledge and influence. We had stabbed our friends in the back. Some began to threaten us and slander us, so we created a new rule. I will respect the council or other leaders' decisions. I will not yell at, insult, or threaten them. The guides returned mere days later. Our dictatorship was ended. We had been asked to step down.